Hello, this is Kev.
And Lil. We're discussing relationships in all of its forms and everything in between.
We've been together close to 30 years. We've seen some things together and apart.
So if you want to laugh or need advice, come and spend some time with Kev and Lil. Have we met?
Hey, everybody. So today we're discussing dating back in the day.
The Dizzy.
Oh, God, please don't say stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's funny because, we'll probably come up with another topic as far as how it is dating nowadays, although we really don't have much experience with that, of course. But, you know, where did you meet people when you were looking to go out with other people, honey?
You were going to say get laid, weren't you?
Would I say that out loud? I don't know if I'd say that out loud, or
Busted,
at least
buddy.
not to your face. I definitely would
Busted.
have said it behind your back because
Sorry,
I'm
guys.
dirty like that. No, but seriously, where did I mean? We can certainly get into the story of how we met, but as far as just where did you meet guys, or back in the day?
Um, at the clubs,
Well,
at the
that's
club,
our story there, of course.
bar hopping at bars,
Man, que
at
sucia.
church,
Oh God, church. Wow, look at that.
house parties,
Oh, okay. House party. Yeah, I remember those.
family. When
Family.
they introduce you,
Oh
oh, I
man, you
know
got
so
with your
and
family?
so.
That is gross.
You're an ass.
Ugh.
Like oh my aunt, I got this great guy from work. I wanted you to meet, blah blah blah, and friends used to try and hook us up all the time,
Really? You were that girl that they all wanted to hook you up, huh?
cause that's how fabulous I am.
You fabulous. Wow, that's a word we don't use in this household very often.
I'm sorry, guys. I still have my cough. Bear with me.
So yeah, so let's start with our story. All right? And I love telling this story because it's the only time I could tell this story because I don't sugarcoat it. I'll tell you exactly what happened, how it happened.
Yeah.
She just so
The
you
way
know,
he
she
thinks it happened.
hates the way I tell this story, but she knows it's the truth. So
Hmm.
just so no, we were. It was funny. It was one of those nights where honestly didn't even want to go out that night. At least this is my side of it. I didn't really want to go out. I was with a couple of friends, about three of them. There was one couple and then another guy. So it was four of us in total. And we went to a club called, back in the day, it was called Les Poulets. And we went to this club and we were broke. I mean, I was like 22. I was broke, man. And we go to this club and that night was Marc Anthony.
Yeah,
Yeah,
buddy.
yeah, whatever. Just so you know, this one over here wound up working for him later on.
Hey,
But
Mark.
but yeah, so we go and they wanted like $40 at the door, and I was like, get the heck out of here.
$40.
$40 is way too much for a brother or a guy that just ain't got that type of dough, especially for somebody that ain't working. So we decided let's go to our regular place, which was known as Sequoias back in the day. It was down in Pier 17, the South Street Seaport, and we knew we could get in there for free. The music was still good, Eddie Batiz, and we went. But again, I didn't. I wasn't in the mood. But hey, I certainly didn't want to stay at home, So we go. We're there, and my friend was dancing. The couple that we were hanging out with were, as usual, arguing because that's what they did
Who
all
was
the
that?
time. We'll just call them E and D. And
ID.
yeah, so yes, we're there, and I'm hanging off to the side. And just so you know, back in the day, of course, you could still smoke in the club. You could still smoke cigarettes,
That's
which I
right.
hated that because I hated walking out or coming home smelling like cigarettes all night. And I'm there, and I was standing. I want to say like a counter, and in front of me was this guy, and this guy. Just he was the typical guy in every club. Every little thing he had to do had to be so dramatic. Like everything was this special move. He was lighting his cigarette, and then so at one point he had a drink and he puts it down behind him on the counter, and then he faces forward again, and he's trying to light a cigarette. So me being the smart ass guy I am, I go and I grab the guy's drink, and across the counter is this lovely lady, and I go and I take his drink and I put it in front of her, and I just turn forward, and the guy turns around, and he looks and he's like, what the? And he looks at her and he gives her a dirty look, and she's like, she's pointing to
It
herself.
wasn't me.
Not me. It was him, and I'm like, get out of here. I don't even what. Don't even talk to me.
But
And
wait, but wait. Can I tell them how I got to the club before you continue?
well, okay, go ahead.
Well, he didn't want to be there. Neither did I. I was home. I used to live in Staten Island, the borough that time forgot back in the day. And a friend of mine, she was 30 and she had never been to a club. I was like, what? You've never been to a club? I said, that's it. We're going to go. It's your birthday. Was it her birthday? No, I don't remember. Anyway, I got dressed. I went because I felt bad. She had never been to a club before. And of course, we decided to go to Sequoia's because it was free. And that's how I got to go to the club, even though I didn't want to go. But I went because of a friend.
So yeah, so we're there, and she's looking and she's pointing, and she goes, "It wasn't me, it was him," and I'm brushing it off like whatever. And then she turns to me, she goes, "You don't know him?" And I said, "No, I don't know him. The freaking a-hole. What the hell?" And she's like, "Oh my God, you're crazy." And I like
That should have been my first
and I
flag,
said,
guys.
and I said, I was like, whatever, you know. So what does she do? She lights up a cigarette. Yeah, because you just love to see that in the club, right? Some
My
chick lighting up a cigarette.
Newports.
And she lights up the cigarette and she's like, "Oh my gosh." And she starts waving the smoke from me. She's like, "I'm so sorry." And mind you, I'm like,
Does
whatever.
the smoke
I'm not
bother
even
you?
paying attention to her at this time.
I was asking if the smoke was bothering you.
And
I
I'm
was
like,
being
whatever.
considerate.
Yeah, whatever. And so yeah, so you know, a couple minutes go by, you know, whatever it is. We don't really talk. We don't give much eye contact and whatnot. But you know, it's about closing time for this place, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm getting out of here. So I'm about to walk, you know, I walk out, I walk downstairs, and my friend turns to me. He goes, "Yo, what are you doing? Where you going?" And I said, "They're closing." He goes, "No, they're not. They're still playing music. Go upstairs." And I said, "Nah, man." He goes, "Yo, go talk to that girl. Go ask that girl that you were talking to that to dance." And I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. So I go back upstairs and I go to the dance floor and I see her from across the way, and I wave her to her over, and I'm like, "Hey, why don't you come over and you want to dance?" And she points to herself like, "Who, me?" And I said, "You," in all my perfect sign language, "You dance now." So she went and she put out her cigarette and she ran over her. I'm going to tell you something. That was the only time this ever worked in our entire relationship, where I told her to do something and she did it right away.
Oh my God, you're
Okay?
so
The
full of
only
yourself.
time. Okay? So she ran over, whatever. And, we danced. I was respectful, because I wasn't a dirtbag. I wasn't going to feel her up on the dance floor or whatever. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, thank you for the dance." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever."
Oh
Because
my
again, I wasn't.
God,
I'm going to
please.
tell you, please.
You
This is
were
the only time.
live
This is
already.
the look. Whatever. I'm not. I don't want to even get into it with that part of it. So we go. So I'm leaving, and then my friend turns to me again when I'm walking out. He goes, "Yo, did you get a number?" I was like, "Nah, man, I ain't got a pen." He goes, pulls out a pen, and he goes, "Get her number. Give her your number now." Fine. So I go back and I was like, "Hey, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I was never the smooth talker. So I always felt awkward talking to women. You know what I mean? I
Awkward.
just was. And I gave her my number and I said, here's my number. If you want to call, go ahead and call." And back then I used to wear this thing around my neck, and it was like a little yin and yang symbol. Trying to be cute. You know what I mean? And I wore it, and she grabbed it and she goes, "Oh my God, this is so cute. My son has something just like it."
That's
And
right.
I said, "Oh, okay." So she's letting me know she got a kid from the
Mm-hmm.
get. I said, "You
From
know
the
what? I can
get-go.
respect that because she did it her best way possible without saying you. Instead of saying, "Hey, I got a kid, right? I need a baby daddy." But no, she didn't say that. Whatever. So, you know, long story short, I gave 2 days, and when I called her 2 days later, and I told her the 2 days later, I said, yeah, I gave the customary 1 day psychopath off day. So I figured I'd give you a breather, and I'll call you 2 days later. And long story short, or not even long story short, it's we've been together ever since. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but again, that is the only time that worked. Me telling her, "Come here now, let's
Oh,
dance."
yeah, yeah. He
And
thinks
she
that's how it
came, and
happened,
she
ladies
like a
and
moth
gentlemen.
to a flame. Let me tell you, it is like
Listen, the
she
club
smelled
was
like.
about to close. I figured, what the heck? Let me give him a chance.
Oh my
It's
goodness!
the
Yeah,
last
let's give it.
dance,
Oh my God,
right?
I was the last man
So I put on
standing.
my cigarette and I said, let's do this.
Oh, you are so full of crap right
No,
now.
you're full of
You
crap.
are so full of crap. It was
Shoot.
like a moth to a It was. She smelled me from over there. She was like, "Oh my God, what is that? What is that intoxicating scent? What is it? Oh my gosh, she's so manly."
You know what's so funny? Every time my kids ask Dad, Dad, what was the first thing you noticed about Mom when you first met?
I noticed her beautiful smile, her long hair.
He's so full of crap.
I noticed that rack. I noticed that rack. And even to this day, it sort of makes me drool a little. Uh,
Okay.
but
So, like he was saying, um, from the get go, I let him know I was a package deal. I was a single mom. I had the sweetest, smartest, and most loving little boy. I couldn't just hook up with anybody. I had to find someone that was worthy of us. And, I wasn't playing games. I was like testing the waters. And he passed that first test. He didn't freak out as soon as I said, I had a kid. So that was good.
yeah, one of these days we'll get into the our first date. That was
That was
interesting as well.
hysterical.
Uh,
That was another red flag.
yeah.
I should
I gotta
I
admit that
should
was a
have
little
picked up and
for both of us.
ran.
There were red flags. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, and it's just I was thinking about this topic a couple of days ago, and I was talking to some of the people I work with, thinking about some old friends, and even how I may have met people back in the day, and it's just interesting, and the kids, and I hate to say the kids, but it's true. The kids nowadays, it's it's so tough for them. I feel, just because of the way they got to meet people. Um, but it's funny because I went around and I started looking for some input. You know what I mean? Hey, how did you meet the person you're with? How did you meet the person you're with? How are you meeting people nowadays? And it's so much different from when I was looking or when
Hmm.
I was on the scene or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, of course we met at the club. Yeah, I met one or two people at a bar back in the day. I wasn't a church goer back then, so no, I wasn't meeting anybody at the church. Um,
Best place.
but I remember things like the personals. Do you remember the personals?
Mm.
Oh my goodness, the personals.
Remember
Those
the
things.
Village Voice?
The
They had the
Village Voice.
weirdest.
Yes. Those things
Ooh.
were, if you look back at it now, man, I'm surprised there weren't more people being murdered. Honestly.
Don't make me laugh. It's gonna make
So
me
it's
cry.
like, it's just crazy the way the single white female searching for a single male, blah blah blah, and or the connections. I remember that too on those personals. Like, oh, I saw you on the train. You were wearing a red vest,
Mm.
and your hair was blue,
Mm.
and whatever it was, and I'm like, man.
The
This person
punk
was
rock
really.
days.
These people were really looking for somebody.
That was probably in the village. You saw somebody
Well,
with
yeah, it was
blue
the
hair.
Village Voice, or it was on the train. Again, people meeting on the train back
My
then.
mom and my dad met on the train.
Yeah, they told us about that one. God help them. But yeah, I remember hearing that. Um, I can't get too much into my parents how they met. I think they met at a dance. Um, Maybe that'll be a story we tell for another day. Maybe we can get my mom on one of these and she could tell her story, or I'll just trick her into saying her story.
Same
Uh,
thing here.
you know.
I'll try and
But
get my mom.
that'll be interesting. But you know, I remember, hey, I dated people I worked with. Not often, but there was a couple people I worked with, and we went out. Um, Remember double dates back then too? Like, oh yeah,
People still double date.
do
Jeez.
they? Do they
Yes.
really?
Yes.
Again, I
Kevin,
don't
how
know. I
old do
don't.
you think we are? We're
But
not
we
that
don't.
old.
But we don't date, so it's not like something we do. It's not something that we see
But
often.
people still double date.
Really? Okay.
Oh,
I mean, what do
good
I know? I'm
Lord.
not looking for
And I'm the
people.
older one in this relationship, ladies and
Tell
gentlemen.
me about it. She is so much older.
Uh-huh.
But you know,
5 years is not that much older, and you act older than I do.
I act older. You
And
tell
you
me all the time
look
I'm so
older.
immature, but
Yeah.
now I act older. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you act like an old man.
I act like an old man. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Oh no. I'm gonna start coughing.
But you know, and I remember. Oh my God, libraries,
Libraries.
libraries, like strawberries. No. Yeah, I remember people would go and they'd meet people in the library or the
I didn't
bookstore.
go to the library to meet people. I went to study.
Okay. Don't act like you were that studious. Okay.
I
Don't play
was
yourself.
studious.
Don't play yourself that you were so studious.
I was
Whatever.
studious.
Whatever. But yes, people met at the libraries. They meet at bookstores, I guess, and retail in general. Which I think that's another shame that so many retail stores are going away because that's one place you could definitely pick somebody
At the
up.
Gap.
The Gap. Oh my gosh, the Gap. Banana Republic.
Orcatan. You don't remember that one, but I remember.
I remember
Orcatan.
Locaton. I do remember that. I wouldn't exactly show up in there because that's not exactly a store that I would frequent. But for me, it was Blockbuster Video. You know what I mean? I worked there plenty of years, and I met plenty of people back then. I dated a number of employees or coworkers, and shoot, I dated a few patrons of the store too.
And in
Back then.
school, we met people in school.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's funny you say that because some of the guys or some of the people that I work with, especially the younger ones, they're still with some of their high school sweethearts.
That is awesome.
Which I think is amazing.
Yes.
I think there
Yes.
was one girl I spoke to, and I asked her, so listen, and she's like, yeah, he's my fiance, and I said, you mind me asking how long, when did you guys get together? And she goes, freshman year of high school. She goes, we've been together 15 years,
That's amazing.
and my jaw dropped. I was like, what?
That is amazing.
I was like, and that's just one of a few stories. There was who else? Another one of the kids.
That's
He's
not
been
heard
dating
of too much. People
one of the
being
kids.
together
He's
so
been
long.
dating his girlfriend for about 5 years since senior year of high school.
Mhm.
Another guy I dated. Another guy I met or not I met that I work with. He says actually his marriage is arranged. Yeah, he's from India.
Marriages,
So
wow.
and he turned to me. He goes, "You married for love, right?" Well, no, mine was arranged. I said, "Well, you've grown to love her," and he goes, "Oh, absolutely. It's just that wasn't the way, of course, it started."
It started, but at least they fell in love. That's wonderful.
Another girl. She actually worked with her. She used to work with her husband. Who else? There was. And I wanted to ask a few more people, but I wasn't able to. One of the girls that works with me also, she met her husband, or she met the father of her kid way back when. They just happened to live on the same block way back then.
That's great.
Like they were 18, she was 17. I want to say he was 19, something like that. But yeah, and then she moved away, came back, and they got together after 10 years. You know what I mean? So they were on and off for God knows how many years. Another one, which was one of the most fascinating stories. She says, yeah, she actually dated her husband in high school as well, but then her country the war broke out. She lived in Kosovo, and they lost touch for I want to say 10 years, and they found each other again, and they've been together ever since.
They should make a movie out of that.
That one was really interesting. That one was real interesting, because she said, and she tells me that the thing is, I don't think I could have dated anyone else, or certainly not anyone that wasn't from my country, just because no one else would understand what we went through.
Yes.
Where we would go, are we eating today? You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
war,
Because
man.
it was
We're so spoiled here in the United States.
it,
We
it,
don't know what living rough is. We used to have a tenant that used to live in Georgia, the country, not the state. She lived in Georgia, and she even says that she goes, "We're spoiled," and she would have to boil water in order to take a bath, things like that. Mind you, we just have to turn the faucet on, and that's it. We're so spoiled. But I'm glad they found their the love after war.
so. And I mean, another guy I work with, he said that actually he met his wife through a fraternity mixer when he was
That's
in college.
awesome.
And the funny thing was, the girl didn't even go to his college. She went to a different college. She just happened to show up to this mixer, and they got together in the same over time. Is there
It,
anybody you know that has any interesting stories, or any of your friends met people and they?
oh, let's see. I no, just so and so met through a friend, or we went to a party, or we went to an abandoned house that had a party.
Yeah, I remember those abandoned homes things.
Yeah, don't tell my kids I did that. But yeah, we just met people and we hit it off, and it was great. My thing is that we're always asking, how do you meet someone and how do you find that special someone? But I just want to throw something out there, guys. I just want to tell you, you have to learn how to love yourself before you love anyone else. Okay, guys? It's crazy out there. Don't just fall in love to fall in love. Okay? That's all I have to say. And that. Is there anything else you wanted to put into that?
Well, I wanted to touch on just how people still meeting people. I mean, another guy I spoke to again, not to rear back to what we were talking about, but one guy he told me that his current girlfriend, he met her in the gym, and he
We're going
knew.
to do gyms again.
Yeah, well, it's that time of the year, so everybody's gonna be hitting the gym now. Let's not get into that again, but it's that time of the year, and
And let me tell you something. I remember when I used to go to gym back in the day, we didn't put 5 pounds of makeup, bought $150 pair of freaking tights. I mean, girls go to clubs dressed like they're gonna go to a club. I mean, to the gym like if they're gonna go to a club.
well,
And
you
I'm
know,
like, oh, that's not the reason why you go to gym. You put on your worst pair of tights,
well, it's
your
not like
brother's
that anymore
t-shirt, and your
because you
hair
just
up in a
you just
ponytail.
never know when you're gonna meet that guy, or you're gonna meet that next what do you call it, child support check. But yeah,
Jesus.
so but and I was thinking back on our story again, and I was thinking, do you ever think about the first time we met and compare it to where we are now, and it's
Mm.
like, wow, who knew this would happen?
Like I said, guys, it's crazy out there. I'm glad I found my person, and I'm never gonna let it go. I'm never gonna let go. I don't care what he says,
Yeah,
but it ain't happening. I am not going out there. It's crazy out there, guys.
but
Mm-mm.
yeah, it's and it's funny. Just so you guys know too, this is how big of a success he was. She told me, yeah, I'm not, from the very beginning. She goes, I'm not looking for anything.
I wasn't,
Um,
because I
I
was.
don't wanna, I don't want a relationship, and I was so the girl in this relationship in the
You
beginning.
still are.
I, and I said, hold on. Let me tell you something. I am not that guy.
Listen, I dated a lot before him, okay? And that saying, "Oh, I kissed a lot of frogs." Well, I did until I met my prince, which is him, of course. But I
And
was testing out the waters. I was like, "Look, I'm not gonna just start dating this guy because I had a son, and I didn't want to just bring any Joe Schmo to meet my son. I wanted to make sure he was the one." So And I remember he was funny, guys. He made me laugh. He was really funny. I remember that's one of the things I love about him is his sense of humor. And you know, it's so funny. It's been so long that we've been together that sometimes his sense of humor is what makes me want to smack him too. So it could go both ways. But
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't want to start dating him. I was like, let me test the waters.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. You know, I tell people when they meet her or I introduce them to her, have you met my first wife? That's a running joke, just so you know. I say that all the time. I also say stuff like, we've been together 30 years. I've been living 30 years of a life sentence.
That's
And
right, baby.
and
Until
yeah,
death do us
she loves
part.
that. She loves those two jokes. She can't wait for me to say them every time we meet somebody, and they ask.
Like I said, sometimes the sense of humor is what I dislike.
Yeah, but it is what it is. You take the good with the bad, and you go on. But as far as that's concerned, that's us dating back in the day.
Let us know. Where did you guys meet?
Oh,
Your significant other.
those stories. I love those stories. I
Hmm.
honestly do.
We might
I,
even make another episode about a
who
story.
knows? You
Yeah.
never know.
And I really love that Kosovo story. That
Yeah,
sounds like it'd be
yeah, it's
interesting.
crazy. It's very interesting, very interesting,
Well, good for them. They found love in war.
mm, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, something good came out of it.
So thank you for listening to Kev.
And Lil,
Have
have we
we met?
met?
And here's hoping you have better relationships in your life. Goodbye.
Goodbye.